Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Keeping It Real. Right now, as we speak, there's a woman being physically and verbally abused. The truth is, there's a woman somewhere that just took her last breath due to domestic violence. Today, our guests, Mark and Nancy Stern, teaches us about a parent's pain and the father's touch. The phone call on April the 4th, 2007, was every parent's worst nightmare. Their precious daughter, Jana, was killed at the hands of her abusive former husband. The Stern's story when we return.
Kristen Maddox overcame a 12-year addiction. Now she pulls others out knowing that some have escaped death for the last time. Shauna Butler understands the pain of sexual abuse. Now she uses her voice to unhush the little girls inside of women she counsels. This is Keeping It Real.
Welcome back to Keeping It Real. Today's guests, Pastors Mark and Nancy Stern. They pastor a church called Oasis Ministries International right here in Walker, Louisiana, and they're here to share their daughter's heartfelt story. Nancy, you had shared briefly with us about your daughter, Jana, and how she was, married to someone she was in an abusive marriage, was it?
She was, but she didn't realize that at first. I remember counseling with her dad, saying, this is not the right person for you. Mm-hmm. But she was 21, old enough to make up her own mind. And she said, I can remember her saying, oh, Mom, he's so sweet. You just don't know the sweet side of him. Mm-hmm. And so the abuse didn't start right away. But afterwards, we observed her mouth one time was bruised and her eye was bruised, and she tried to hide it because she loved him so much. Even to the day she died, I believe she loved him. But she did ask us not to interfere with what was happening. And it was so hard for her dad and I because, we wanted to help her out of the situation. Mm-hmm. But then realized that she didn't want to be helped at that point.
Mm-hmm. How early was it when y'all realized that it was something beyond love?
For him? He started controlling her. Mm-hmm. He started taking her phone away. He started saying, you don't need anyone else but me. You don't need your parents. You don't need your brothers. You don't need your friend. I love you so much. And we started realizing it then.
And what was that like for you, Dad, as a father, seeing your daughter going through this and silently, because I'm sure she wouldn't talk to you all about it, even though you could see the signs. What did that feel like?
We came home from a ministry trip in Europe, and 2 weeks later, Jana says, I'm married.
Oh, wow.
And talking to her on the phone all through the trip, no indication. So we verified that she was married. Mm-hmm. And then, so what do? We tried to bring him in. Yeah. I gave him a job with my company. I'm also full-time business. Mm-hmm. And we tried to make a good thing out of what we had. Yeah. But then it would deteriorate. So, like Pastor Nancy said, we have to decide in ourselves if we want the help. Mm-hmm. If a person doesn't want it and we interfere, then they're gonna turn on us. They're gonna hate us. Mm-hmm. You interfered with my marriage. You did something to my man. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we had a difficult decision to not interfere, just to try to help where we could.
Right. Mm-hmm. What was y'all's relationship like with Jana before she got in this relationship, and did that change? Did you feel like it changed after she got in the relationship?
Jana was a very loving young lady. Mm-hmm. She was very bubbly, very vivacious, and had friends everywhere. And so we had a very secure relationship with her. Mm-hmm. She grew up in a Christian home, and she knew what love was, and she knew what a good marriage was. Mm-hmm. So, of course, our hearts hurt whenever she went to this man and decided that she loved him. Mm-hmm. I think our relationship stayed pretty much the same. However, we didn't see her as much because he wouldn't allow it.
Right. Can you share with our audience, what happened with that relationship?
It started deteriorating. We took them on a honeymoon, or we took them on a cruise with us for their honeymoon, and he started to change then. And I think she realized it at that point, but it was too late because she knew that as Christians we don't believe in divorce unless there are extenuating circumstances.
Right.
So right when you go into a marriage, we didn't believe, we thought that she should work it out with him. But he started to get real moody and wanting her all to himself. And so that was hard for us to deal with. And then the fights came. We helped him get into an apartment, and he was kicked out because of temper problems. And the man said that Jana could stay, but he had to go. So it just started escalating from there. And she hid a lot from us that happened. She would tell some of her friends, who would in turn tell us, but she didn't want us to know.
It's really hard, hearing this, because there are so many women that deal with domestic violence, and they feel like they can't go and tell anybody. They have to keep silent because they're in love with their abuser. And so if they tell somebody and in return, that person says you shouldn't be with them, well, next week they may want to get back with that person. So then they live in silence. And they continue, to just accept the abuse for what it is. And I know as a parent, that's very hard to see, your child going through that. Now, Jana, does she have brothers and sisters, or was she an only child?
Jana was our only daughter. She was our baby daughter. We asked the Lord for a baby girl. We have 2 sons whom we're very proud of. They live here. Well, one lives in Idaho and one lives in Walker. And so we wanted a little girl. And I remember going to the Lord saying, or someone coming actually and telling me as we had a prayer meeting one day that God would give you the desires of your heart, to be specific. And so I said, okay, God, I want a little baby girl with brown hair and blue eyes. And because at the time, my husband has brown eyes, I have green, so blue just didn't go. And I had a vision of her. I wanted to see her. And when she was born, she had the most beautiful blue eyes you've ever seen. And so I never doubted that we would have that baby girl. So we named her Jana, which means gift from God.
Wow. That's a beautiful name.
So Pastor Nancy, can you share, was she able to break free from that relationship?
She was. We prayed and prayed and prayed. And there comes a point in time you have to let your children go. And you have to realize that you've dedicated them to the Lord. So we eventually let her go, let God deal with her so that he could work his plan and purpose out for her life. So I asked the Lord one night when I was praying, I said, God, I just want you to bring her home. And he did. He brought her to our home for 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, he brought her to his home. So many people would say the devil stole your child. And that's a lie. He did not. God has a purpose and a plan for every one of us. Now, we can interfere with that, and we, by choices, we may not live as long as we could have by our own choices. However, if the enemy had stolen our child, she would be in hell today, and she's not.
That's right. That's good.
So, So, yes, we had 6 weeks with her that we adored.
Well, when we come back, we are going to talk more about Jana's story as shared by her parents, Pastors Mark and Nancy Stern, when we come back. Today, girls will die as a result of abuse that went too far, drug overdose, and even suicide. It doesn't have to end like that. There is hope. Hi, I'm Kristen Maddox, founder of A Door of Hope Ministries. A Door of Hope provides free services to girls and women that are stuck in a vicious cycle. Some have escaped death for the last time. Without a place to go, they will return to the streets, their abuser, jail, or even worse, end up dead. Let's rescue them by providing a home where they can come free of charge to receive the healing they need. There's a cry in their souls for freedom. We're responding to their cries. The question is, will you help us? Visit our website at www.adoorofhopela.com or call 225-665-HOPE. Together, we can make the difference between life and death.
My name is Tamara Evans, and I'm the proud owner of Tamara Cleans, a locally owned and operated residential and commercial cleaning company, where we specialize in custom cleans for your home or office. We cover Ascension, East Baton Rouge, and Livingston Parish. Call for your free quote today, and always remember, don't stress, let Tamara clean the mess.
Thank you for tuning back in to Keeping It Real. We're really happy to have Pastor Mark and Nancy Stern with us today, sharing their daughter Jana's story. And we really want to know, like what happened the night that y'all got the phone call, if you can share that with us.
We can. It's difficult for us to share sometimes, but we do go to different places to minister because of that, because people need to know things like this. And we were called. She actually worked at one of the local fast food restaurants, and it was her last day there. She had been living with us at home for 6 weeks, and she had gotten a new job because she wanted to start a new life. So that was the last day there. So she was she wasn't living with her husband at the time. She was in the process of getting a divorce, and she had already gotten a restraining order. And I remember one of the girls that worked at the clerk of court's office said, "Be careful, because a restraining order doesn't stop a bullet." And that just resonated in my soul. And so she was fine. She was having the time of her life. It was around Easter, and we had been able to take her shopping because we hadn't done that in a while. And her dad was like, "Just whatever you want, you can have," because she wrapped him around her finger when she was born. So, we used to laugh because I would tell the children, I would come home and I'd say, "I got this for the boys and I got this." And he's like, "Oh, did you get enough for Jana?" Because Jana was his little girl. So, anyway, we got the call. We were out in the yard actually fixing up the house because she was in, and one of her friends was over helping us. And our daughter-in-law, Kim, who was a high school coach at Walker at the time, called us and said that one of her students called and said that there was a shooting at the local restaurant. And I just knew in my heart it was Jana, because I knew that the restaurant where she worked. And so I called her dad and I said, "We've got to go. Someone has been shot." So we went down there, and actually the police chief now of Walker is Marlon. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, Marlon. Marlon Lee. I went to school with him, so I knew him, and he was standing behind the tape. And there was mass confusion everywhere. There was dogs. There was helicopters. There was everything. But all we saw was. We ran up to him and I said, "Marlon, is it Jana?" And he said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Is it Jana?" And he said, we can't say." And I said, "Jana's our daughter." And then he was crushed. He was like, and I said, "Can we see her?" Because we had heard there was a shot, but we didn't know to the extent what it was. And so he shook his head and he said, "It's better that you don't." But we said, "But we want to see her because, as parents, if your children fall and hurt their knee, you want to go kiss it better and make everything better." And he said, "You don't need to see her." And I said, "Why? We want to go help her, make her better." I mean, we saw the ambulance there. We said, "We can, ride to the hospital or something with her." And he shook his head and he said, "She's gone." And I said, "What do you mean she's gone?" I mean, I just about passed out in his arms, and he didn't know what to do, and we were just in a total state of shock. We were just, and then we began to look around, and we started seeing blood. And I know you've probably seen the movie, what is it? I remember, The Passion of Christ. When Mary was in the square and Jesus' blood was everywhere, and she said, "This is my son's blood. Don't desecrate that." And I felt that way. I felt like a piece of my heart had been just cut off. I mean, literally cut off. And I looked around and I saw the blood and I realized that it was our daughter's blood, and it was surreal. We just couldn't really bring it to our hearts that it was our daughter. And of course, we know that God raises people from the dead. And so we asked the Lord, and He said no. And so we didn't know what to do then. But our book, and I know you're going to talk about that a little bit later, called Sufficient Grace. Yeah. And the grace that God had for us at that moment was the only thing that ever got us through. And because we know the Word says, and we know the Word, and it says that all things work together. So for good, for those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. And when we walked on that area, we said, God, you will get the glory. Satan will not get the glory for this. And that's what's come about. So he did shoot her in her shoulder, and she would have lived, but everyone fled, and there was no one there to help her. And so her ex-husband followed her and was inside with her after he shot her, and he actually had a knife that we didn't know about. And he stabbed her several times, and he finally cut her throat, and she bled out and died. And so that was what killed her.
That's, oh my God. When you were telling your story, and I know the name of your book is Sufficient Grace, and we are going to talk about the book some more, but I thought about it when you said, you asked God, and He said no, And when you said that, the first thing came to my mind, and I wasn't even thinking about the book, the first thing came to my mind was, His grace is sufficient. And then I thought, wow, the book is Sufficient Grace.
Yeah.
So when He said no, He was saying, my grace is sufficient. Just my grace is enough.
Right.
And we don't think it's enough. God says it's enough.
And I know that God graces us. He gives us the strength to hold on to Him, even though our faith may be shaken or tested or whatever you want to call it. He gives us the strength and the ability to hold on to Him because He really is our source.
That's right.
But I want to know, was there ever a time, I know y'all are pastors, I know y'all been serving the Lord a long time, you've been walking with God a long time, but when something like this hits home, because you hear about other people that go through it, and you have a compassion, you have a sympathy, but when it hits home and it happens to you, it's totally different. Was there ever a time where you questioned God or were mad at God?
Of course.
Mark? Yeah.
Of course. And I like the name of your show. I mentioned Keeping It Real, because life is real. And like we say in our testimony means, we were the good guys. We weren't druggies and thuggies.
Yeah.
We weren't used to that lifestyle. We'd never been around that type of thing where a father's hitting his wife or experiencing my mother being beaten or whatever in front of me like that. It's terrible. We don't know anything about that. And here comes along this guy. The son-in-law is not drugs, not a drinker. He's just mean. Meanness, hateful. And that's the enemy, that's the devil. Causes people to act like that. And so life throws you a curveball. You're not expecting this. You don't have a contingency plan for, okay, so if my son-in-law kills my daughter, what am I going to do then? You don't plan for that. And you have to trust in God. You have to trust in Him, or else be destroyed. Because some people it's a choice. We have to choose, are we Christians? Are we going to trust Him? Are we going to hang on to Him? Or are we going to let it destroy us? And we were determined that the stupid devil wouldn't get any glory, that he wouldn't get any credit, that God would get the glory. Like Pastor Nancy was saying, you know, he's not caught by surprise. He's never caught by God. He's never caught by surprise. He didn't, you know, he's, oh my God, oh myself, you know, there's Jana got killed over there. You know, it was a bigger picture plan that we don't always know. He has the plan. He's got the purpose.
I know during this time, God was so gracious. We didn't need sleeping pills. We didn't need anything. He just allowed us. But one night I was awake praying, and I said, God, I can't, as a mother, handle the pain that I know that she went through. And because I could just feel every knife wound or every, you know, just every hit or, you know. And I said, I can't handle that. And he immediately told me, when she saw my face, she forgot her pain. And that was the start of the healing in my life. It was like, okay, God, I know you have this. You know, she's with you. And then one time I was driving down the road and I said, God, why did this happen? Why did you let this happen? Why did you take her? And because it's okay to ask God questions. Right. Some people say God is so far away that you can't touch him. No, God is real close and real to you. And so I said, God, why did this happen? You know, I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I just needed to know, why did you take her? And he told me, I didn't take her. You gave her to me. And we did. We dedicated her when she was born, before she was born. We literally gave her to him. So we can't say she was here, she was ours, but only for a time.
That's right.
You know, Nancy, we've got to go to break, but before we do, I just want to say that when you were sharing that about Jana, when she saw his face, the pain stopped, and it reminds me of Stephen in the Bible, that when he was stoned, he saw heaven opened, and he saw Jesus standing at the right hand of God, and that's what it reminds me of. More of their story when we come back. Today, girls will die as a result of abuse that went too far, drug overdose, and even suicide. It doesn't have to end like that. There is hope. Hi, I'm Kristen Maddox, founder of A Door of Hope Ministries. A Door of Hope provides free services to girls and women that are stuck in a vicious cycle. Some have escaped death for the last time. Without a place to go, they will return to the streets, their abuser, jail, or even worse, end up dead. Let's rescue them by providing a home where they can come free of charge to receive the healing they need. There's a cry in their souls for freedom. We're responding to their cries. The question is, will you help us? Visit our website at www.adoorofhopela.com or call 225-665-HOPE. Together, we can make the difference between life and death.
I'm Pastor Philip Pimlott, and this is my wife Kelly, and we want to extend a special invitation for you to come and visit us at Heartsease Family Life Church. Heartsease is a safe place for you and your family, a place where life starts, love happens, and purpose is revealed.
Our church is located at 12112 Florida Boulevard, and our services are Sunday mornings at 9 and 11 and Wednesday evenings at 6:45.
For more information, check out our website, hflc.us. Welcome home.
My name is Tamara Evans, and I'm the proud owner of Tamara Cleans, a locally owned and operated residential and commercial cleaning company, where we specialize in custom cleans for your home or office. We cover Ascension, East Baton Rouge, and Livingston Parish. Call for your free quote today, and always remember, don't stress, let Tamara clean the mess.
Welcome back to Keeping It Real. Pastors Mark and Nancy Stern are the pastors of Oasis Ministries International here in Walker, Louisiana, and they have been sharing their testimony with us about their daughter Jana. And Nancy has written a book called Sufficient Grace that shares their story. We really encourage you to get this book. Pastor Nancy, can you tell them how that they can get the book?
You can get the book on our website, www.omichurch.org, or you can get it on Amazon as well.
Okay.
Well, we have them in stock.
And we also have them, of course.
So we're going to be sharing again. We're going to do a part 2, and we'll pick up kind of where we left off on next week's segment. But today, I just want y'all to share. You have a new church building here in Walker, and can you share where you're located and share a little bit with our viewers so they'll know how to get connected?
Well, thank you. And we've been having church for about 3 years, and we moved into a new location right downtown Walker between Florida and the railroad tracks.
Okay.
So if you go past the railroad, it's too far.
Okay.
It's 30163 Walker North.
Okay.
And it was 10:30 on Sunday mornings. And then we have an accredited Bible college on Wednesday night.
Okay.
So if someone wants to come and get their degree in an accelerated fashion, we have that available
Wow,
on Wednesday nights.
That's awesome. And you also have an upcoming event. I think it's April 2nd through the 4th or through the 5th?
2nd and 3rd.
2nd and 3rd, I'm sorry.
Yes, Thursday and Friday. It's a Open Heaven Miracle Crusade, Miracle Healing Crusade. And Apostle Al Fornes out of California is our apostle. That's who we are mantled. His mantle is over us. And so he's an awesome speaker. He gives all the glory to God, but God uses him tremendously, and we're so excited. We can't wait for that to happen. But it'll be at 7 at night.
7 at night. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm super excited about everything that God's doing. And remember, the name of the book is called Sufficient Grace. When we come back next week, we're going to be talking about how this tragedy affected their marriage, and were they able to forgive this person for everything that happened, how God helped you and walked you through that. So
We'll see you next time here on Keeping It Real, where we have real lives,
real stories.
right here on Keeping It Real.
Do you have a story? Send your personal story to info@adoreofhopela.com for a chance to be selected as a guest on the morning talk show, Keeping It Real. Today's episode's closed caption sponsor is Tamara Cleans. Always remember, don't stress, let Tamara clean the mess.